Welcome back, everyone, to another edition of our Explainer series. Today, we are taking a microscopic look at what is, without a doubt, the absolute crown jewel of 80s pop. We're deconstructing Michael Jackson's 1987 masterpiece, Bad. But to really understand this album, we have to start by putting ourselves right in Michael's shoes back in the mid-1980s. He was facing this monumental, almost entirely impossible task.
Okay, let's dive into this. How do you follow the best-selling album of all time? I mean, exactly 5 years prior, Michael had dropped Thriller. And as you know, Thriller wasn't just a hit. It was a total cultural juggernaut that entirely redefined the music industry and completely shattered racial barriers. It literally became the best-selling album in human history. So the stakes and that crushing, unimaginable pressure of following up that kind of 5-year run, that would paralyze almost any other artist. But for Michael Jackson, it was pure fuel.
Here is our roadmap for today. We're going to look at 1. The impossible follow-up. 2. Taking creative control. 3. The sonic tapestry. 4. The visual revolution. 5. Breaking chart records. And finally, 6. The blueprint for modern pop.
Section 1. The impossible follow-up, stepping out of the shadow.
You see, Michael wasn't just trying to copy the success of Thriller. He was fiercely determined to shed his child star image once and for all, claim that King of Pop title, and prove his ultimate independence as an artist. So to do that, he totally inverted his own formula. Think about it. Thriller was universally accessible, right? It was the ultimate pop party. But Bad was the hangover. It was intentionally harder, way edgier, and deeply infused with this urban, rock-heavy sensibility.
Section 2. Taking creative control. The perfectionist takes charge.
These recording sessions stretched on for over 2 grueling years, from early 1985 all the way to mid-1987. And during this time, the whole dynamic between Michael and his legendary producer Quincy Jones really shifted. For Thriller, Quincy was the mentor, pushing Michael. But by 1985, Michael was rolling into the studio not just as a singer, but as a hardcore businessman with a total, uncompromising creative vision. He showed up with over 60 written songs ready to go, and his recording methods, they became wildly obsessive. He was known to record vocals over and over until he was physically exhausted, sometimes singing until his nose literally bled, all just to achieve absolute vocal perfection.
I always have to laugh at Quincy Jones's reaction to this next part. Michael had this fierce demand that Bad should cost significantly less to make than Thriller. Quincy later called this demand insane, and for good reason. Because despite Michael's supposedly frugal intentions, that relentless perfectionism we just talked about caused the studio expenses to absolutely skyrocket.
It's true. The budget ended up ballooning to over $2 million. And I really want to highlight that massive number because it conveys the staggering, completely unprecedented scale of an album budget in the 1980s. Michael was sparing absolutely no expense when it came to capturing the exact sound he heard in his head.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the incredible lore behind the title track itself. That iconic opening lyric, "Your butt is mine," was actually inspired by Michael listening to a street preacher in Harlem. He was deliberately adopting this grittier urban vernacular. But here's the crazy part. This song was originally supposed to be a duet with Prince. Yeah, Prince. But when Prince saw that opening line, he pulled out of the project entirely. He flat out refused to sing it. So what did Michael do? He just recorded the duet parts with himself using pitch-shifting technology in the studio to create the brilliant illusion of 2 entirely different singers.
Section 3. The sonic tapestry, a track-by-track evolution. The sheer range of what they accomplished on this record is just staggering. On one hand, you have pure pop-funk with a streetwise love song like The Way You Make Me Feel, complete with those signature ad-libs. But then there's a strategic pivot to conquer segregated rock radio with Dirty Diana. They brought in Billy Idol's guitarist, Steve Stevens, to create this incredibly dangerous, sexually charged, aggressive hard rock track. And then he turns right around and delivers Man in the Mirror. This gospel power ballad, penned by Sydog Garrett, reached entirely new spiritual heights. It actually had 0 Michael Jackson songwriting credits, but served as this massive, socially conscious call for global change. So, the crucial point is how they actually achieved this sound. It was all thanks to an audio engineering technique called aquasonic recording, pioneered by engineer Bruce Swedian. Basically, by assigning every single instrument its own distinct frequency, they completely prevented audio bleed. This created a pristine, 3-dimensional soundscape. And this specific technical magic is exactly why, even decades later, Bad still sounds shockingly crisp and modern today.
Section 4. The Visual Revolution. Reinventing the music video.
Michael absolutely insisted on elevating the medium. He completely refused to call them music videos, demanding they be viewed as short films instead. And he backed it up big time. For Bad, he hired legendary director Martin Scorsese for an 18-minute subway mini-movie starring a young Wesley Snipes. For Smooth Criminal, he dropped $500,000 creating a 1940s gangster film noir where he famously debuted and later patented that iconic anti-gravity lean dance move. He truly became an engineer of illusion. And perhaps most daring of all, for Man in the Mirror, he released a groundbreaking montage of real-world news footage with exactly 0 Michael Jackson dancing in it. He was pioneering a visually challenging, cinematic way of telling pop stories.
Section 5. Breaking chart records. Conquering the globe.
Now, while Bad sold roughly 35 million copies worldwide, which is technically fewer copies globally than Thriller, it achieved an entirely unprecedented US milestone that even Thriller couldn't touch. It became the very first album in history to spawn 5 Billboard Hot 100 #1 singles from a single record. 5. I Just Can't Stop Loving You, the title track Bad, The Way You Make Me Feel, Man in the Mirror, and Dirty Diana all went straight to #1. It was a complete historic domination of the pop charts.
And that global domination extended right onto the stage with the Bad World Tour. It was a massive financial success, and notably, the first time a major artist toured the US utilizing a completely international support act of DJs and dancers rather than your traditional opening rock band. But this massive financial triumph really came with a dark side. The physical toll of the tour was brutal, frequently causing Jackson to literally collapse from sheer exhaustion off stage.
Section 6. Blueprint for Modern Pop. The Lasting Legacy of Bad.
Let's move to and see how this builds into something even bigger. The blueprint Bad laid down continues to have a profound, enduring impact on the modern music industry, and especially on post-MTV racial dynamics. It served as the crucial transition point between the joyful, shiny disco of the 1970s and the grimier, heavy hip-hop influence sound that would dominate the 1990s. It was a fearless, rebellious statement. Just picture that stark black and white leather-clad album cover in your mind. It permanently redefined what it meant to be a pop superstar. You didn't just have to smile and sing anymore. You could be aggressive, you could be socially conscious, you could be rock and R&B all at the exact same time.
So I'll leave you with this provocative question to think about. When you turn on the radio today and listen to modern pop superstars, artists like The Weeknd, Bruno Mars, or Justin Timberlake, can you hear the fearless DNA of Bad living on in their music? Bad was Michael Jackson's ultimate declaration of artistic independence. It was ugly when it needed to be, spiritual when it called for it, and entirely revolutionary. I highly recommend you hit play on the album one more time today and just listen to it with all of this in mind. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and keep learning.